I just finished watching the final two seasons. So I just finished watching How to Make It in America. It was a show on HBO that came out, I believe, in 2011. If you haven't seen the show or heard of the show, let me insert a clip here.
Yo, better get out, man! It's time to get paid!
Go away!
I just wanted us to actually do something for once. Not just watch, as happens to all our friends.
Rachel!
Then go home.
I guess we're not the losers you thought we were.
No, you still out.
Name tag spelled wrong. Straight up bootleg.
Yo, there ain't no bootleg.
Really?
Give me 500 for the lot. I'll throw in a blender.
400.
Go yourself.
500 it is.
That's your idea, having it all worked out? Bootleg leather jackets?
Well, call your friend back here, please.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Do not waste your time, don't waste your money. 1 million people before you have failed trying to do exactly what you want to do.
Laugh all y'all want. We're gonna change the game. My man here isn't like everybody else. He's a visionary.
How wonderful.
How long are you gonna keep saying the man for?
Until we are the man. No easy money. We'll have fun.
Anything is still possible in America, baby.
It's not about money, it's about respect.
It's history to make it.
Okay, so obviously the show didn't make it past season 2, and that is kind of my gripes with the show and what I want to talk about in this video. First things first, it's a good show. I'd recommend it, even though it only has 2 seasons. I would still recommend it. It's like that show Freaks and Geeks, where it was short-lived, but it had really good potential to, like, you know, be like a pretty memorable classic TV show. And that's how I feel about How to Make It in America. And I just want to let people know that well, not people, but to HBO executive or the person who made the final decision and pulling the plug on the show, go fuck yourself. You made a terrible decision doing that, and I don't know, because HBO did later on go and make Game of Thrones and now Westworld. Doesn't really, as a consumer, I don't give a fuck because I don't watch neither one of those shows. I heard they're good. They're great shows. That's fine, let them be. But to me, a show about 2 friends trying to make it into the fashion industry in New York and being entrepreneurs was a lot more interesting to me than a show about incest and dragons. But then again, I guess I'm the outcast in the situation for liking that show as opposed to Game of Thrones. Either way, it's a good show. I found it to be funny. I found it to be refreshing. I found it to be good, like really good. And for some reason, I was looking at articles like that were doing reviews at the time about the show, and someone like compared it to Entourage, which was another show on HBO, and how they said that like the show was trying to be like a East Coast version of Entourage with less swag or some shit like that along those lines. And I was like, damn, that's one. These are 2 completely separate shows. Yeah, they're on the same network, but like you can't. If you're expecting Entourage from How to Make It in America, you were either 1, not watching How to Make It in America, or 2, just expecting that any show on HBO that follows a group of guys is gonna be like Entourage. And if you think it's gonna be like Entourage, then you're kind of just being a dumbass, really, because Entourage and How to Make It in America are completely 2 different stories, completely 2 different settings, completely 2 different characters in the show and everything. Like, I'll say this: the way they portray female characters in How to Make It in America are a lot better than how they portray Entourage. So that's one thing that clearly shows the difference between the 2 shows. And regardless of the fact, I would still recommend people check out the show How to Make It in America. It's only 2 seasons, which I believe are like 8 episodes each season, so a total of 16 episodes. Not that long, not that many episodes to go through. I think it's like 35 minutes an episode, so again, it's not even a full hour. But I would recommend watching the show. It's a great show. It's funny. It's really, really good point of view of like what the fashion industry would have been like at the time. I don't think it would be like that now, especially with the way technology and social media works for like independent up and coming brands. They can really get their shit popping off via the internet. This show takes place a little bit before the internet kind of pops off, so you kind of had to see how people were getting their big break in the fashion industry, in the fashion world, before the internet, which is really interesting and cool because, it's so easy to try to figure things out just from your phone in your room as opposed to going outside and, trying to figure shit out like that. So I think the show's really good. I think the characters are written well. And yeah, and the representation. They had a bunch of Dominicans and Latinos on the show, and as a Latino, I find that show to be just cool, just because, just represented a bunch of people, and it wasn't like on purpose. Like they just said like, well, we need to get some Latinos in here, and we need to get a couple Asians in here, and a couple white people in here, and a couple black people in here, and just make it natural and normal. And they did. It felt forced. That's the thing. This show didn't feel like the diversity was forced. It kind of felt like it was natural, because New York is so naturally diverse that it's kind of hard to you'd be kind of taken aback by thinking like, well, why is it just a bunch of white people on TV? You know, like obviously New York is not just all a bunch of white people, especially if you've been there, if you walked anywhere in New York. Yeah, so I would recommend checking out the show. It's a good show. It's one of my personal favorite shows, even though I never made it to. I would like, personally, I think that I kind of just noticed is like, if a show can make it to 5 seasons, you can probably tell a pretty good story within those 5 seasons and make it complete. You know, it's like the Breaking Bad model. If you can make it to season 5, you can probably tell a good story and complete story, and you know, tie up all loose ends and shit like that. So the fact that this show couldn't make it to season 3, let alone season 5, sucks. But I would still recommend checking it out. It's a good show. If you're a fan of Kid Cudi like I am, you know, he's in the show as Domingo. He walks dogs and sells weed to rich people in New York. What's not to like about that? So I'd recommend checking out the show. It's a funny show. And yeah, man, so I recommend checking out How to Make It in America. It's on Hulu right now. That's where I got to see it, but it's also, I believe, on HBO Go, because it's an HBO show. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So go ahead and check out the show. Let me know what you guys think, and if you guys like my recommendations, I guess look at other shows and movies that I'm going to recommend. I'm trying to do more of that shit on this. Whatever this is. I don't know.